Hello and good evening, and welcome again to Andy Holding Speed Figures YouTube channel. Myself, Andy Bate, again this week talking to Andy Holding. Sam's having a night off and he's actually gone to the West Bromwich Albion game. I think I'd rather know where I'd be, Andy, and it wouldn't be watching the Albion. Good evening.
Not wet, windy, blustery Monday night. No, I think we're in the safest place.
Yeah, we definitely are. We definitely are. Some good action at the weekend. Maybe not as good as the weekend before, but I think a few races that we can certainly highlight with the festival in mind, and a few topics to discuss. With Newbury being the feature, so if we make a start there.
Yep.
And should we go for the big race itself, the handicap hurdle, the Betfair hurdle, won by Glory and Fortune. We got it a good time. And what were your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, it was a bit of a miss by yours truly, really, not to put it up on the selector page, because it was joint top with Soaring Glory. I just took the view that Soaring Glory back at Newbury, a track where it obviously had gone really well before, won the race last year and numerous other good runs, that he was probably the more solid one of the two. But look, there's no fluke about it, was there, Andy? I mean, we got him going into the race off the back of a good run beyond Epperton. He beat Soaring Glory in that day, albeit the ground probably didn't play into Soaring Glory's strengths. But either way, Tom Lacey's horse proved his measure again. And, in a strongly run environment, he's clearly very good. I'm not sure whether he'll take up a champion hurdle engagement, more likely to go down the county hurdle route. And in effect, both of those two horses, the winner and Soaring Glory, ran well in fifth. Obviously boosted Epperton's form line at Kempton over Christmas. She did a 75 that day or something in and around that region, which is one of her best numbers in the last 12 months. So anyone looking for an each way alternative and a solid one at that behind Honeysuckle, who still yet to really hit the ball out of the park this season so far visually and on the figures, you could do worse than look at Nicky Henderson's mare. Yeah,
definitely. I did read somewhere today that Tom Lacey is conjuring with the thought of sending the winner to the champion hurdle. I got the impression it was more of a staying performance over 2 mile than it was one blessed with speed. I think the circuit comparison with the Brimming Water says that the fact he's probably a 2.5, 3 mile horse. There was a closeness between the circuits that you would point out that wouldn't mean that Glory and Fortune was blessed with speed, really.
Yeah, I'll probably go along that, Andy. Yeah, I think he might have to be supplemented. I think I've heard Glory and Fortune to get in the champion hurdle. Not sure whether he's actually in the entries. I'll have to double check that. But look, I think anyone who's got a horse that's got 4 legs and can run well over 2 miles, is a viable contender. Who would have thought that Glory and Fortune and Tommy's Oscar would be sort of in and around the sort of 16, 20 to 1 mark? Come the start of the season, you would have been laughed out of town when you were those pair. But look, they've earned their stripes. They've worked their way through the handicaps and they're proving in strongly run races. So there's plenty of prize money all the way down,
Yeah, absolutely. I was quite taken with all the chases on the card on Saturday, particularly with Fun and Bull Savola. I think if the champion chase was on a flat left-handed track, then he'd certainly be one that you'd be considering shaking it up with Shiskin and Energamine.
Yeah, he's just a very likeable horse, isn't he, Andy? I think the one thing about him is he's just he's got very strong attitude to the game. He loves a fight. He looked beat at Doncaster and he won that day. And, there was periods at Newbury the day when he looked as though he was going to get swamped again, but he kept finding plenty for pressure. And he's got quite a unique technique all of his own. He's not overly big and he doesn't jump overly high, but he gets in and out of a fence quite quickly. So that makes him always a dangerous opponent over 2 miles. He's not wasting any energy. And he's just a continued success story from the Venetian Williams / Charlie Dutch axis, isn't it, this season? They've got, so many good chase horses throughout the board. Obviously, Long Press, a big name going into Cheltenham, and several others that I'm sure will rock up there as well. Commodore, we haven't seen him since he won. I'm sure he'll be headed towards the 3 miler. So, Bill Savola, whichever race they choose for him at Cheltenham, he's a player. And if they don't go to Cheltenham, there's always Aintree, of course, and he finished second there last year. So, he's a handy horse in his own right.
Yeah, definitely. Charlie Deutsch suits him really well, doesn't he? Sits very still. He's very flat across his fences. I think using him as a benchmark, I think there was a lot of credibility in Brave Man's game warm-up for the festival as well. Kind of comparing the overall times, yes, he was the slowest, but I think he was close enough on the circuits, wasn't he, to suggest that there's still plenty more to come from him.
Great thing about Braidman's game, it can't be underestimated, Andy, is he's jumping, isn't it? I think it's always going to stand him in good stead. I thought he was very clever at the fourth last as well. I mean,
yeah, I was just going to say that he was, wasn't he? Really athletic.
There wasn't a stride there. Harry Cobden saw one from a long way out, and the horse went, "Hang on a minute, I can't possibly, get over from here." And a lesser horse would have sort of not been able to get out of his own way there. They would have just run into the fence and bulldozed it and headbutted it. But he actually shortened himself up, fiddled it. Okay, he made a mistake, but it wasn't a race-ending mistake. And he soon came back on the bridle. So I think the horse is quite an intelligent horse.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a few examples of that fourth last catching horses out earlier this season. I think, was it Pick Dory or another one of the Nichols horses that went there absolutely motoring and tipped up, didn't he? So
and the pipe horse in the
remastered,
remastered. So it is a bad one off the corner there. So that's proven that he can jump well at speed. Look, he's probably the most safest conveyance of the horses running in the Brown Advisory, but I just don't think he's as quick or as good as Galopin de Champs. Certainly our numbers suggest that. In his career, he's yet to run beyond the 69, which is not sort of like a number of a really, really top-class horse. I think he just falls short at the moment. Maybe another year. Maybe another year when he's back, he might be able to get a bit quicker. I think something like the King George might suit him next year. He's obviously proven around Kempton. One or two of the big Irish horses next year might not come over. I think that's probably his race. But he's a worthy second favourite based on his ability, his reputation, and because of the lack of the quality in that Brown Advisory. But still don't see him beating Galopin de Champs.
No. Personally, I don't see Bob Ollinger beating Galopin de Champs if he went the other way. So I guess that probably sums up the task that Braveman's Game's got. And Eldorado Allen lowered the colours of Royal Pagayan. I thought he won fair and square. He set about them at the bottom of the straight and then never ever got to him.
I think it was a combination of two factors really. That it was a good, sensible, aggressive ride by Connect. Yeah, the connections have worked it out. They rode him as if they thought he'd stay. He didn't get one of those like conservative rides out the back, will he, won't he kind of thing. They thought, right, we'll just go and ride him like a good horse, and if he gets it, he gets it, and that's exactly what happened. I think that he kind of won, not by default, but as a byproduct of perhaps the other two not being on their A game. I think Clan des Obeaux was one of the few horses on the day, or one of several horses on the day, still under a cloud from the Nichols Yard. Obviously, they had two winners, but quite a few of them just fell short a little bit. And Royal Pagayan, I think he was just always struggling on that ground, wasn't he, Andy? As we saw in the Gold Cup, he was on his head. Everything was happening a bit quick for him. I thought he did really well to at least get within hailing distance of the winner. On softer ground, I'd certainly expect him to turn the form around with the winner, particularly on a stiffer track. But as it was on Saturday, on that good ground, it just helped the winner, who'd obviously got plenty of 2.5 mile speed, and I think that proved crucial.
Yes, yeah. I think, and that's where he's destined, isn't he, at the festival? I think he's entering the Ryanair, which connections have said that's his likely target. Moving on to Warwick. I don't think there was anything to report really over hurdles, but there was a couple of good performances. One particularly outstanding performance over fences in Edwardstone.
Yeah, I don't think we've got him running a bad time over fences, have we, this season? He's always been involved in a strongly run race, and he's answered every call. I think he's actually progressed and gone up rather than kind of like some horses have been a bit sporadic, but I think every single one has been on an upward trajectory. And that 78, which he did at Warwick, puts him absolutely bang up there, towards the top of the pile for the Arkle. He's by far and away the best UK horse anyway. So what we've seen so far, and all ground seems to come alike to him. He's got plenty of form on soft, heavy ground. If it was to rain, the ground at Warwick on Saturday was no worse than good to soft. And he just never missed a beat, did he? Every single fence, ping, 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 those ones down the back.
Yeah, I think the camera angle showed that really well, didn't it? He was taking a length out of the field every time he met one of those fences down the back, which is effectively what got him clear as they turned for home, rather than him having to really exert himself. I just thought he was really fast and low over the fences.
I couldn't agree more, Andy. Yeah, he's just a delight to watch, and Alan King, I think he's got 85 winners at Cheltenham Festival without a win. I mean, if whoever's going to lay the ghost to that stat, then Edwardstone's the one. Obviously, he's got the small match for beating the likes of Blue Lord and Riviere de Tel, who represent genuine Grade 1 form over in Ireland. And, they've looked equally as good, both visually and on the numbers, prior to the festival itself. So it's going to be a great race, the Arkle. And we've got a genuine, Irish-English clash, haven't we, with the best over here, throwing his cap a ring against the two best Irish, similar to the Super.
We're pretty good in the 2-mile chase division.
Yeah, yes. Well, we have been. It's the one race that's kind of like, got us out of the poo-poo, hasn't it, in the last sort of like 4 or 5 years. Your Sprinter Sacras, your Shiskins, the other horse, Dicky's the grey horse that won it a few years back. I forget his name now.
Yeah, he didn't see the track much after that, did he?
Yeah. But it's a good race for us, and Edwardstone certainly going to, make a good fist of it. You'd suggest.
Yeah. Just looking a bit further back in the field, Brave Siaska, I thought having the time in front of us, kind of like wasn't too far away from the performance at Warwick previously. So whether the Grand Annual will be an option for him, same route really as last year's Grand Annual winner, wasn't it? That I think he was second in this race before he then went on to contest the Grand Annual.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go down that route. I wouldn't say it makes little sense running in the Arkle, but he got beat fair and square, didn't he, at Warwick? I didn't see too many excuses.
No, he made a mistake early on, didn't he, which would have set him back a little bit, but plenty of time to recover.
It was, Andy. Yeah, the fact that he couldn't finish second, having raced in second throughout, or majority of the journey, then that probably tells you all you need to know about his level. He's good, but he's probably not Grade 1. He's going to be in that sort of like Grade 3 band, and he's going to be in the 140 markish for the Arkle if they wanted to go down that route. But he likes the race prominently, so the Arkle, the test of the Arkle should stand him in good stead. I think he's one to consider.
Yeah, Sky Pirate was last year, wasn't it? Of course.
Yeah.
Ran deplorably at Newbury on Saturday, I thought, which was quite a surprise. I thought that he'd run a bit better than that.
Yeah, he was a bit below par. Yeah.
Jumping over the Irish Sea, we had a half decent card at Naas as well, and Journey with Me put his Ballymore or credentials on the line. What did you make of his performance?
He's a difficult one to assess, isn't he, Andy? We've had a chat about this, haven't we, off camera, and because he's run such a slow time, not his fault that the race was so slowly run, but
yeah,
he hasn't yet run a good number. He's a difficult one to peg.
He's a bit of John Bond, in the John Bond kind of mould, as you said.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, there's a few horses that have been like that this season, that they've created a lot of headlines in the press, like your Phil Dawes and your John Bonds, but they haven't had any numbers to back it up. And when they've sort of like, well, particularly Phil Dawes, when they've gone in deep in a really good time, they've just got a little bit found out. My feeling with Journey with Me is it kind of like ran like a lot of Henry de Bromhead's horses are still running. He just about did enough to win, i.e. like Honeysuckle did the other week, but still hasn't wowed me in any of his 2 wins. He was workman-like at Leopardstown, albeit the second and third have run well since. And he just about scrambled home when really, looking at the opposition, he should have won 10 lengths pulling a cart. So he's almost like a favourite by default. It's almost his reputation which has got him to the head of the Ballymore rather than actually what he's done on the track. Yeah. So it's very much a race up for grabs for me, the Ballymore. I certainly couldn't back Journey with Me at the prices anyway, based on his numbers.
No. I mean, I guess the best comparison race, meet and greet, that we've got. He's quite a decent yardstick in his own right. He had some good bumper form last year. He ran well in, was it the Christmas bumper that he ran well at Leopardstown, I think, and there was plenty of money knocking around for him overnight and Saturday morning, so they fully expected him to win.
Yeah, like I say, it's just a bit disconcerting, isn't it, that the best race on the card was a maiden hurdle. The final circuit comparisons with that maiden hurdle compared to Journey with Me were the same. You'd expect how slowly they've run that Journey with Me race that the last circuit should be by far and away the quickest.
Yeah.
If you've crawled, then you should have loads of energy left for the back end of the race. It's just natural science tells you that. Yet, because like I said, the moderate quality of that race in general, he wasn't able to do that, which just leaves, like I say, a bit of a grey area with him. So yeah, he's just not one I'm overly excited about at this moment in time. Look, I'm sure he's a good horse further down the line. I think when Henry's horses start buzzing and the horse comes to life and he does perhaps get a really good, well-run race, he might be fine. But
yeah,
I can't get excited about him at the moment going into the festival.
He was quick enough to nominate the Ballymore, though, wasn't he? After the race, there was no question of him going for the Albert Bartlett. He was straight on the trail for he's a Ballymore horse. So obviously held in high regard.
It's the same race that Bob Ollinger, used. So it's following all the right paths, isn't it?
Yes. The weather took a turn for the worst on us on Saturday night into Sunday, and just about almost washed Punchestown away. But we've got a good performance to highlight from Exeter on Sunday, in the shape of their Kim Bailey winner of the second race, Trelawn, on the card.
Yeah, Trelawn. Yeah, first time out for Kim Bailey, easy to back, went off 16-1. It didn't look to be a great strength in depth going into it. We had a couple of horses that dominated the market, and it was sort of like one of those 20-25 to 1 bar races, wasn't it? Where you think, well, if you have an each way bet, you've only got one place on offer. But they went a good gallop, and this horse really did stay on very eye-catchingly all the way to the line. He had loads of left going over the line as well. He hit the line really hard, and his comparison with Lacta Constance, horse that we quite liked in the race after, was very favourable, wasn't it? There was only half an hour difference between the one race and the other, so you'd like to think the turf was similar between them, so there was no massive advantage for the Bailey horse, and yet he still run a much quicker overall and good final circuit as well. So he definitely wants to consider in a better race next time out off the back of that run.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I didn't hear any comments after as to where that might be. Did you pick anything up or?
No. Obviously, it won't be Cheltenham bound. Just the one. It won't be Kim Bailey's style. Too early in his career to think about festivals, but I think he'll probably go, quite slowly with him, and maybe, find another little novice race to win under a penalty. But I think we're going to hear quite a bit of him, particularly next season. No, Kim brings them on over hurdles and maybe over fences sooner rather than later.
Yeah, good. Well, he's definitely one for the tracker then. I think that was about it, Andy, over the weekend. There wasn't anything else that caught my eye. There were a few okay performances at Uttoxeter, but we roll on to Ascot this weekend and Haydock, I believe. Not quite sure what there is over the Irish Sea yet, but there's bound to be a few highlights at Ascot and Haydock, which is normally a good card for highlighting winners at the festival.
Yeah, we've got 2 weekends, haven't we now? That's going to tell us all we need to know, the final pieces in the jigsaw. Unfortunately, I won't be around to see this weekend's action, but
no, lucky man after the sun. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm in safe hands with you and Sam to cast your eyes over it and do the podcast for next week. I'm sure you'll come up with plenty, and then I'll be back for, I think it's the last bona fide trials weekend, isn't it, at Kempton, the Adonis and the Dove Cut at the old Racing Post Trophy.
Yeah,
and then we get the obviously the handicap entries will be out by then, and we get the weights for the handicaps on March the 1st. So lots to digest between now and the early part of March. I think probably in about another 2-3 weeks' time we'll have hopefully all the answers.
Yeah, well, that's the aim. Okay, I shall wish you good night then, and have a wonderful holiday. Catch up with you when you return. Cheers, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. All the best.